This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, that solo that you've just heard there was essentially me just having a bit of a jam in the key of D minor. But what I was doing was employing three little kind of phrasing ideas that I think really help to enhance any solo in any genre for any level of ability. And you can just about mangle the language enough to make the case that they all begin with the letter C, hence the three C's. So here's a bit of a breakdown of what I was doing. Okay, then the three C's that make up a successful guitar solo, what are they? Well, the first one is confidence. Basically knowing where you can put your fingers to land on right notes, everywhere on the neck. If you just know where all of the notes are that are available to you and you can visualize it along the whole length of the neck, then this removes a lot of anxiety. If you only even end up just playing on one little small part of the neck, it should be because that's what you've made the musical decision, the choice, the conscious choice to do, rather than, that's the only place where you feel comfortable and you feel a little bit intimidated moving outside of that area. I'm sure it's happened to many of us at one time or another where you're playing a fantastic solo and you get carried away with yourself, and then you look down at the fretboard and your fingers are in a completely unrecognisable part of town. You just don't feel like there's any friendly shapes or patterns close at hand, and suddenly you realise you've painted yourself into a corner. That's not a good thing to happen, and even if it doesn't happen, just the anxiety that it might happen is often the cause of something that sounds a little bit, kind of lacking in fluency. The other thing as well is if you have any ambitions to play with a little bit of a turn of speed, then one thing that often slows you down isn't that your fingers aren't up to the task. It's that you've got that quantum of doubt in your mind about where the next note is. Where can I put my fingers? And it's just that, oh, hang on, yes, okay, it's there. It's that little kind of curb that you can trip over that will slow you down and again, kind of spoil the fluency of it. Now, the chord sequence we've been playing over here, or I did the solo over earlier, is this, and I happen to know that that is in the key of D natural minor, or the D Aeolian mode. And that basically contains the notes of D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and back to D again. And if I map those out along the length of the neck, they look like this. which is a bit intimidating, but what you do is obviously you break it down into individual chunks like this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. This one. Or finally this one. There's all of the different positions of D natural minor. It's basically just about learning your scales. This is why you do it. This is why you learn scales. It's because it gives you the confidence to just be able to go anywhere on the neck without feeling restricted, or, you know, kind of there are certain kind of no entry points over different parts of the neck. So confidence, that's the first of the 3 C's. What's next? Well, copying yourself. Okay. Again, this is from a similar kind of idea. What we're trying to do is just remove any sense of anxiety in your playing. And one thing that causes many people to feel anxious and a little bit, you know, kind of worried, perhaps not too strong a word, is, am I going to run out of licks? Now, the way to never run out of licks is to basically not think about stringing together a bunch of licks. You are playing in a more reactive way. If you start off with a lick that goes maybe something like this, like that, okay, simple little lick. What do you play next? Well, what I would be tempted to play next would be something that went like this. You can hear how that's clearly based on the first lick, but it's modified a little bit. And then I can take that modified thing, like that, and then the ending of that, you know, that might be the spark that creates the next lick. And it all stemmed from that initial lick there. So you modify a lick, you modify it again, you modify it again, you modify it again. And a great little trick is, if you can remember what you played in the first lick, at some point go back to that, and it makes it sound like you've gone full circle. The listener feels that they've been taken on a journey and you've brought them home again. It's a very satisfying way to, you know, conclude a solo, or to conclude a section of a solo. Here are some examples of me doing that in this solo that you heard earlier. You'll hear in each case I'm taking a lick and then I'm playing it slightly differently in the next iteration. Okay, so the third C is contrast, basically creating light and shade. Now, one way I like to do this is by, you know, if I'm going to play something that's a little bit busy and a little bit twiddly, then follow it up with something that is very much more sparsely populated in terms of notes. So, for example, if I had a lick that was a little bit kind of busy sounding, you know, like a... then what I'd probably do after that is just go, and if I string something like that together, it might go. Okay, and hold that bend for a while, you know, or do something that's a lot less, you know, populated with notes. Any kind of run that you play like I just played there, we call it a run. Okay, that's a big clue in and of itself. You're going somewhere, okay, with it. You know, it's a string of notes. It's a run that is actually taking you somewhere. And it needs to sound like it has a destination. When you've finished doing what you're doing, resolve it. Okay. Another way of looking at it is when you're playing something that's fast and twiddly, not that that particularly was, but if you are playing something that's a bit kind of shreddy, then it's a way of building up tension and excitement in the listener, and that needs to be resolved. Okay? If it just continues, then it just becomes boring, and I'm sure we can all think of, guitarists who are massively talented when it comes to playing the shreddy stuff, but, seem to lack the idea that it needs to have that destination point, and it just ends up being like one big shred fest that never resolves. So that's something that I think is massively important. Whenever you're playing anything that's a little bit busy, always contrast, there's the third C, always contrast it with something that's much more sparsely populated. I mean, another example would be, if you were just doing something like, something as simple as that, a repetitive lick like that, it doesn't sound good if you just stop. It's like, well, yeah, okay, so what? But if you put something on the end of it, like, suddenly it has meaning and it works. Here are a few examples of where I'm doing that in the solo that we heard earlier. So there you go. That is, I think, the list of 3 C's: confidence, copying yourself, and contrasting licks. That if you can build those 3 concepts into your own soloing, then, maybe you are already doing it. Maybe you're just not aware of it and now you're conscious of it. Maybe you can, kind of cultivate that as a good habit to get into. It took me a little while to figure this stuff out, but it is something that, when I would sit and practice, I would practice doing this, practice seeing how many variations I could get on the same lick, for example, in terms of the copying, and obviously practicing the scales, that leads to confidence. So there you go, folks. Hope that's been useful. So go away and have some fun with it. So there you have it. There is, of course, a full tab in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with the backing track that I was using, the clip of me playing the solo, and that clip that you've just seen there of me explaining the 3 C's. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address and the link is in the description. It's only $3 a month and you get access to all of these extra resources that go with these YouTube lessons. Thank you so much to everybody who does that and helps me out and, kind of signs up to the Patreon or helps out in any of the ways that are also linked down there. There's courses and all manner of stuff that you can, get some benefit from. And as I say, help me keep the lights on around here. So thank you so much to everybody who's doing that. And thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.